The Cowboys have given us some major updates, and this has serious implications as to how Dallas's roster will shape out, with a lot being revealed at yesterday's joint practice with the Rams. We have injury news and so much more to get to here on Cowboys Digest. Welcome everybody, I'm Jace Andrews. I appreciate you tuning into the show. As always, if you're new, hit that subscribe button. We are 20 subscribers away from 4,700. I know there are 20 of you that are watching this video that have not yet hit that subscribe button. Football season is upon us, and you're not going to want to miss your one source for Dallas Cowboys news. We've got you covered here right now on Dallas Cowboys Digest. So yesterday, the Dallas Cowboys and the Rams had a joint practice. And DallasCowboys.com, if you don't know, they actually have their own writing group, and they had some observations from joint practice that really intrigued me for a couple of different manners, and we have a couple of different injury updates as well. One guy is not somebody that I would thought we'd be talking about injury issues, but I'm excited to watch him play in the preseason game. I'll kind of give you a hint there. All right, so we start off with kind of the first part of all this, and it's Joe Milton. He is such an exciting factor to this team, and this is Patrick Walker, who had the first observation saying, not your average Joe. Joe Milton is working to improve on some things in his first year at Cowboys training camp, but his arm strength, that's not one of them. It was put on full display in the team scrimmage against the Rams when he dropped back and hurled a 64-yard touchdown pass to streaking Jalen Brooks. I'm also excited to talk about Jalen Brooks. I think he has got a lot of stuff to prove. Who pulled away from his defender with impressive speed. Milton would leave the scrimmage, though, after hitting his thumb on a helmet. But head coach Brian Schottenheimer said the decision to not let him return was a precaution, considering he is expected to play a lot in the preseason opener against the Rams. Now, this is an exciting factor for me for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I'm excited that he is okay because Joe Milton is a player that I have been ready to watch the Cowboys have in the preseason since they traded for him, because he has started one game in his career for the New England Patriots against the Buffalo Bills in a garbage time game. He went 22 for 29 with 241, 8.3 yards per pass, and one touchdown with 16 yards carrying and a rushing touchdown. QBR is not there. There's some stuff he needs to work on. Everybody said he was going to be a tight end in the NFL. This guy is legit, and I am so excited to watch him play in the preseason because, obviously, preseason is an interesting factor. But I went back and kind of took a look at some preseason film of Joe Milton last year with the New England Patriots, and oh my gosh, this guy is electric. Some of the plays he was making, it is fun to watch, and to me, that's what the preseason is the most about. If I can sit there and have some fun watching the game, that is what I care about more than really anything else. I really want to enjoy the game, watch some guys who, may or may not make the roster, but I'm excited to see play. That's the big thing. And Joe Milton, thank God he is okay. I would very much have a problem if Will Grier was our backup quarterback, but either way, excited to see him, and he is definitely a piece to watch because we know that Dak has injury history. I'm not saying he's going to get injured, but I don't want him to. But I'm very much more comfortable this year than past years. Not to crap on Cooper Rush. He's good. But I just think that Joe Milton would at least bring an interesting factor if Dak Prescott did go down. Now, we continue on in the report today. We go to Tommy Yarish of DallasCowboys.com. His I guess, overarching theme of the practice was run defense. And he says this, quote, run defense has been a big question mark for the Cowboys the last few years, and again coming into the 2025 season. In Tuesday's joint practice with the Rams, the linebackers did their jobs as a whole, with Jack Sanborn and Maurice Luafu, flashing for the most part, consistently punching at the ball and trying to force fumbles. He continues on saying, against one of the better running backs in the league in Kyren Williams, the Cowboys had their own and had their fair share of wins defensively, end quote. Now, a couple of different things. First off, the run defense obviously is a big question mark. Kyren Williams got paid yesterday in a huge manner. And we saw in training camp, there is a new preface on punching the ball out, on getting the ball out of the body of the running back or whoever it may be. That is a huge thing that we have seen. And for that reason, we're seeing it more in joint practices and scrimmages, being able to watch these players go out there and ram their fist down. They're trying to get the ball out, and now we're doing it against a very good guy in Kyren Williams. So that's an exciting thing to see for sure. Now, we also talk about the UFL, and it's funny because the Cowboys have found a couple of different guys from the UFL, Brandon Aubrey, but they might have just done it again. Tommy Yarish of DallasCowboys.com, again, with another observation saying, quote, "The Cowboys have found gems from the UFL ranks in Kavontae Turpin and Brandon Aubrey. Could they have found another in defensive tackle Perrion Winfrey?" Now, it has been great to see Perrion Winfrey kind of come out here. Now, he did play with the Browns, so that is something to kind of understand. But Perrion has come out here, played very, very spectacular, and honestly has a very good shot to make the roster. And when you're looking at these UFL guys who have come in and succeeded for the Dallas Cowboys, Brandon Aubrey, Kavontae Turpin, the big thing that we have noticed about them is their success and their praise in a training camp style or in a tryout style, because some of these guys, they weren't here for training camp. They just tried out. Perrion has played with the Browns. He had a great statistical line in the season last year with the Birmingham Stallions. Another person on the UFL to come to the Cowboys would just kind of show the scouting abilities of this team, and that is a huge thing for the abilities for this team to grow and become even better than they already are. Now, I mentioned wide receivers. I want to go to them because I feel like they are the most important part of this team this season. Now, Nick Eatman had this observation saying, "It was a big day for all the wide receivers. Just like the Rams wide receivers were having some success on one side of the field, the Cowboys receivers were doing the same against the Rams defensive backs, particularly CeeDee Lamb." Now, that's not surprising, but Lamb was practically unguardable in a variety of routes, down the field, intermediate throws, and the bubble screens, which were blocked well enough for him to have plenty of room to run. Yes, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua had their share of big plays, but CD and George Pickens, for that matter, seemed to be just as successful. And that's a huge thing because not only does CeeDee Lamb open up the offense for George Pickens, not only does CD and George Pickens kind of open up the offense for the running back room, CD and George Pickens open up the wide receiver area for guys like Kavontae Turpin, for guys like Jonathan Mingo, for guys like what we just talked about in Jalen Brooks. So this is a great thing to see for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's where I want to go to kind of look at Patrick Walker's observation talking about Kavontae Turpin. Not once, but twice in a row, one thing Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense showed the Rams is an ability to threaten with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, only to do damage with a guy like Kavontae Turpin. Now, Kavontae Turpin has been talked about in a lot of different manners and as a potential breakout star for the Dallas Cowboys. He continues on saying, quote, "The speedster, an all-pro returner, flat out owned one drive in particular, grabbing a rope of a throw from Prescott deep over the middle before then grabbing yet another middle deep pass, this time down the right sideline, before embarrassing the lone defender that stood between him and Paydirt with a single move that left nothing but the end zone in front of Turpin," end quote. Kavontae Turpin is scheduled for a breakout year. Obviously, yes, we have the stuff behind that, but he is in a very good spot to kind of go out and compete in a manner that we haven't seen in a bit from Kavontae. And he's been that return style specialist, but it seems like now with the additions of Pickens, you're going to be able to open the field more for Kavontae. Now, the last observation is from Nick Eatman, and we'll kind of get to a reasoning behind this, but I just want to read the quote to you first. Quote, "Defensive tackle Mazi Smith returned to practice Tuesday against the Rams just a few days after leaving the field with an injury. Smith was working with the first-team defense but rotated with others as the Cowboys clearly were easing him back into action," end quote. Now, we know that Mazi Smith, if you didn't know, went into an MRI for soreness on his knee. Now, obviously, because he was back at practice, because he was in the short practice, he is obviously fine. The MRI did come back clean, but it's nice to see, I mean, whether you think he's going to succeed or not, a first-round pick, you want him to be able to come back on the field and do what he was able to do. So that is a huge thing. I'm very happy to see him back on the field. And I'm just really hopeful that he can actually produce in the way that we've been wanting Mazi Smith to produce for the past 2 years now. So I do think we will see him very loosely in the first preseason game this Saturday, but I am hopeful that that will be the only preseason game he will be loosely played in, and that after that they're going to be able to use him a little bit more. I know he's the starter, but I want to see so much from him, especially with the questions on the defensive line now, with Micah Parsons obviously maybe not being ready for that opening day or playing. Forget ready, but just playing in general because of the contract negotiations and trade request that has been formally submitted. But that's what we got for you today here on Cowboys Digest. Once again, hit that subscribe button. We're 20 away from 4,700, and we will see you next time here on Cowboys Digest. We appreciate you. Peace out, guys.